for 2 years.
Jon Venables, one of the two killers of the toddler James Bulger, has been sentenced to 2 years in prison for downloading child pornography. James Bulger's mother, Denise, said the sentence was too short and that justice still hadn't been done.
Did it come as a shock to you when you were eventually told that Venables had been rearrested and was then back in custody?
Well, they've always believed that they go on to re-offend, and that's been proven with Venables. So I was just praying that he didn't hurt anyone else. That's all that was going through my mind, to just hope no one else suffers at his hands.
So what did go wrong? Did the attempt to rehabilitate him simply not work? And was he really prepared for life outside? Venables himself blamed the pressure of living under the constant fear of reprisals, and with a false identity, for his reoffending.
Jon Venables had been taught to lie and become very good at it, so when he had things that perhaps he shouldn't have been doing that he wanted to conceal, then he was able to do that.
How on earth can someone who's murdered and is then introduced to a false identity actually handle that? I think it's very, very difficult to actually expect somebody to live a lie on the back of what they've done.
In January 2010, the two Edlington brothers were sentenced to serve at least 5 years for what the judge called a sadistic crime against 2 other children. They're now going through the same system of rehabilitation as the one that some believed failed Jon Venables. But with one major difference. As they have never been publicly named, they won't need new identities when they are eventually released.
I am pleased that they haven't been named, because I think that is one less added difficulty for their reintegration into life as adults.
But I hope that the 2 boys that inflicted the injuries on them, I hope they don't get treated the way Thompson and Venables got treated. I think we should learn from the past, that it doesn't work giving them the best of everything. It doesn't work rehabilitating them. It doesn't work spending a lot of money on them.
In many parts of the United States, the authorities share Denise Fergus's scepticism about the value of rehabilitation. Here, the focus is on long-term punishment. In August 1993, just 6 months after the murder of James Bulger, a similar case shook America. 13-year-old Eric Smith was accused of killing and abusing 4-year-old Derek Roby.
All rise. County Court is now in session. The Honorable Donald G. Purple Jr. presiding. He was about that tall. He weighed 40 pounds. He lived 4 years and 10 months. And that person killed him. Eric Smith choked and battered the young life out of Derek Roby.
That day, Derek had left his house to play at a sports field 200 yards away. He was never seen alive again.
So you find the defendant guilty of murder in the 2nd degree?
Yes.
Is that unanimous?
Yes.
You may be seated. Take the young man in custody.
The 13-year-old was jailed for a minimum of 9 years, but a maximum of life. Eric Smith spent 8 years in juvenile detention. But then, instead of being freed, he was transferred to a high-security adult prison, and he's still there today, 18 years after committing the crime. Derek Roby's family insist he shouldn't be freed.
I know I killed Derek, and like I said before, I'm sorry for it. I am. And there's not a day that goes by in some way, shape, or form that I'm like forced to remember what I did. Regardless of what labels they give me, doesn't mean that that's what I am. You can label me a monster, a cold-blooded killer, a demon child, Satan incarnate. I don't care what the name you give me. Doesn't mean that that's who I am.
Since 2002, Eric Smith has appealed 4 times to the parole board to be released. Each time, it was rejected. There is no guarantee he will ever be released. Jon Venables could be back on the streets as early as July 2011, though it will be up to the parole board to decide if he's ready. He will remain on a life licence and his name will be added to the sex offenders register. While there's no suggestion that Robert Thompson has reoffended, Venables' release is likely to reignite the passionate debate on how Britain should deal with children who commit violent crimes.
What do we want to do with these children who do commit very serious offences? Now, some people would say, well, you should lock them up and throw away the key. But if we believe that adults can be rehabilitated, surely we have to believe it for children. Surely we have to believe that children who do something awful at a very young age, at the beginning of their development, with the right treatment, can be helped to develop in a way that will make sure they never do anything like that again.
Albert feels a unique set of factors led to Venables reoffending. Some created by the system itself.
You can never have a system that's 100% perfect. But what we can learn from Jon Venables is the areas where they become vulnerable in early adulthood, where they've failed to come to terms with what they've done, make the adjustments to living outside, and also living under a false identity, a lie, should be seriously considered when they're looking towards the future of other young people who are placed in a similar position.
Up next for Ulster in the Magners League, a home tie against Interprovincial.